So we've done the run around. Matt's now going to take us back to Goodwood, back closer towards town. And I believe Matt is one of the brave ones who has auto-timed his slide. So this should be this perfectly timed presentation.
So sympathetic laughter, feel free to provide me some.
All right, so
pictures only, no words.
I'm hitting the go button in 3, 2, 1.
Go. So just to give you a bit of an overview on where it is. In a metro southwest of the city, we've got the Adelaide Showgrounds just here, Anzac Highway, Goodwood Road, and a couple of key bike routes for us. So for us, it's a key east-west collector, and we really wanted bike paths to be a part of this project. So here's just a before shot. Essentially, the project started because the footpath and the roads reached the end of their useful design lives. So thanks to the help of the Adelaide Mount Lofty Ranges NRM board with some funding, we're able to conceptualise a streetscape which included water-sensitive urban design. One of the other things we did for the project was we teamed up with the Water Sensitive City CRC and did some urban heat island modelling, just to get an idea of the reduction in land surface temperatures during extreme heat events, and we found that up to 6 degrees Celsius could be reduced, factoring in canopy growth, so established trees. So this is just a screenshot of what we were dealing with beforehand. So the road width, we had 12.9 metres between Stovey poles and existing trees. A lot of trees remained, so we had quite wide footpaths, but it made it difficult to design the road any wider because of where the Stoveys and trees were. So some of the features of the design were obviously, like we mentioned, new roads, footpaths, permeable paving, new trees, rain gardens. We've got about 11 rain gardens, 200 square metres. It was also an age-friendly street, so we've incorporated seating every 200 to 300 metres, handrails at every intersection, line-marked bike paths, which was quite a challenge, and we retained as many trees as we could. So we did a tree audit beforehand, identified the healthy trees, ones with infrastructure clashes, ones had to go, etc. So to tell the truth, one of the hardest parts was the road width. So incorporating bikeways into it meant a lot of negotiations with dip tie. So we had 12.9 metre road reserve, we went up to 13.2, and we were under in lane width. It is a bikeway, it is a bus route. And yes, so we did do music modelling. We met the target. So we had a council decision report only allowed me to lose 10 car parking spaces throughout the street. So that meant the rain gardens were opportunistically placed typically where it wouldn't matter that we're losing car parking spaces. So the rain garden design, typical rain garden design, we learnt from our last project not to have too steep a drop-off, so we've gone with some stones on each side to help bridge that gap. We haven't had any negative comments from it, so we think it's worked really well, integrated into it. We've also had a water main that we had to work around, and we also had SA Water work right next to us, so there was a bit of construction challenges. We did use HDPE, obviously, which is pretty typical. What we actually did was on the footpath side, we cut the HDPE at the submerged zone level, so just to encourage any infiltration into that area. They are permanently paved footpaths as well. Contractually, we're not going to be able to explain it in 20 seconds, but we ended up having an interesting thing where it saved us a fair bit of money, but we had curbing going in before footpath demolition, so some of the construction procedures was, not the standard, way you do it, but it did end up saving us money. So permeable paving, we ended up going the 10 mil open screenings, no bedding sand, with 1 to 3 mil sweeping sand. So there were a couple of options that we considered, and we did a couple of site visits to look at what suited us best, and we decided on this as the best sort of tightly compacted, understanding that there'd be clogging fronts would be exacerbated or increased because the 1 to 3 mil sand. So some of the construction issues we had was a bakery, 24 access pretty much. So it made it really difficult to do any curb works in front of their entrance. So yes, trees, a lot of trees that we tried to retain. With the way we put the curbs, they were very close to some of the tree roots. hydrovacing at every tree that was in, where the tree protection zone was affected. This was the first hydrovacing. As you can see, it went terribly wrong. From there, we had a lot more arboricultural supervision to make sure that the tree roots weren't damaged. That's very bad. So here's an example of a curb terminating, and there's a lovely tree there and some roots. So what we've had to do in situations like this was we actually had, once again, arboricultural supervision, and some of it resulted in hydrovacing the tree roots and actually lowering them, and then having like a separation layer, clean fill, and then concrete. So here's an example of water table. We stopped the curb really short because there's actually trees, the tree roots all through here. And that, then we covered, or we filled that with an epoxy stone resin. So it's permeable and it just seals off the road well. So here's an example of where we did it somewhere else. So here, the invert of the water table, we had to actually push it out. So in a few spots we had to do this where we had to keep the invert the same, but actually push it around the tree roots so that there was, free flow of water. So understanding the implications of that introducing moisture into pavements, that was our decision. Here's an example of a finished rain garden with the seed I was talking about, handrail, bike path, trees in the rain garden, the rocks. You can't really see, but there's a little entry or the catchment where we are catching all the organic matter to start off with, so little stones to keep all the organic matter in place. Here's an example of a finished rain garden with water. Haven't quite finished the project in this photo, so there's still a bit of mortaring and some line marking. What else can I talk about? So we deliberately didn't do any infrastructure in front of the Lacornu site, so that was up for sale. We avoided any rain gardens. The tree species we chose in that section, so northern side, no power lines. We could have went as high as we liked, but we chose not to because there was a soon to be development there. So small sacrificial trees soon to be replaced. And here's just a photo of the finished product. There we go.